Hey, John, you there? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing?
Good, doing good, brother. How was Christmas?
It was good. Got to see my grandkids. That's really all that mattered.
It sounds like it, man. It's like no grandkids yet. The wife is looking forward to it, big time. Hey, John,
How old are your? Go ahead.
my youngest daughter is 22. She'll be 23 this year.
Well, she
Yeah,
can
she's
pop
the
them
one
out
that.
anytime.
Yeah, she's the one that's taking over the business, or wanting to grow her own hardwood floor business. But hey, John, it looks like it's just me and you. I don't know if these other guys in between Christmas and New Year's, what's going on. But
Well, we don't. If they don't show up, we don't need to do a long deal. We can just say hey, and we'll catch them
and
next
say,
time.
hey, did you listen or read the 4, 5, and 6?
I don't know if I got to 6 or not, but I did read further along. I got as far as. Well, what chapter
As
am I
far as
in? I am. Well, the references to the party bus. It was the 5 unworthy enemies. That's where I'm at
mhm.
right now. And I
um,
had made, I'd highlighted a few things.
what did you highlight, John? Because for me, it's like I think we talked like last week is the whole deal of that 20-year plan. The more I thought about it, the more I tried to embrace it. And man, because 20 years is going to come and go no matter what, whether I
I'm a
reach
I,
80, 90. And then because the guys, like, I play golf every Friday, and the guys I play golf with, they're all 20, 22 years, 25 years older than me. Two of them are 79 and one's like 84. And the 84-year-old kicks everybody's ass. And just,
yeah.
I was telling another buddy, I was like, shit, if someone told me right now you could pay this much money or give away this, and you'll be in the same shape that he's in at 84, I'd have to go for it. I'm like, man, he's in better shape now at 84 than I am at friggin' 59.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so like, I don't, so I'm trying to figure that 20-year plan. And it kind of helps with my daughter wanting to grow the business, but I really look at that 1, 3, and 5 years, and then I'm really looking at this year, trying to do something different, and that whole the passion and that stuff. I even posted on a couple of Facebook groups that my goal this year was to help 100 business owners double their profits. Uh, and now even saying it out loud is when other people tell me, "Oh man, I'm gonna set these goals," and it's hard to set goals for yourself that include other people. The three thing there's only three things God gave us 100% total control over, and that's what you do with your body, what you put in your body, and the thoughts that you dwell on. But for me, I really want to push the whole contractor coaching, marketing, grow your business thing more. The few people that I have helped over these last 3 years, it's extremely rewarding, not financially, but it is mentally. So I'm really pushing more towards that. And then in chapter 4, he really gets into a lot of stuff that I've been teaching for over 30 years. But hey, and I know you want to do the podcasting thing. Hey, are you like completely retired, John? Or I mean, I don't know how much you want to share. What's going on with you?
I am a poor ass broke white boy. Okay. I I still have to work. I live a very, very, very modest life. And like the summers, I quit my IT job 9 years ago, and I've almost been a hobo ever since. And it's
Gotcha.
like last year, and then the year before that, I went up and worked in the summer doing some things, but it's not It's not. I need to change that. But
Yeah,
I had some things I had to figure out for myself.
yeah. And I think for me, like I said, this book is it's a lot of highlights of things that I've been reading and listening to over the last 40 years. Hey, Dave, did you hear anything that I just said about the whole 135 and 20-year plan and all that stuff?
No, because I was waiting in the other waiting room.
In the other waiting room? Yeah,
The
I was
other
just
lane.
saying, it's
Yeah.
like, because I've been talking crap about the whole 20-year plan, but it's going to come and go either way. And one of the guys that I golf with every Friday, he's 84 and he kicks my ass. And if someone told me you can pay this amount of money or you can do this right now and you'll be in the shape that he's in at 84, I'd have to take it because at 84, he's probably in better shape than I am at 59. So the 20 years is going to come whether we want it or not. So I'm really looking at that more because I kept saying, 20 years is too far to look at, but I still want to think about it and make a plan for that. I'm big on that 1-3-5 year goal deal. And that's why I said this year in a couple of Facebook groups, I posted that I want to help 100 business owners double their profit. And that has more to do with like, it's hard to set goals for yourself that include other people because there's only three things God gave us 100% control over. That's what you do with your body, put in your body, and the thoughts that you dwell on. So when you start setting goals outside of yourself, you're almost asking for trouble. But at the same time, you do a lot of what I do, David. And I was telling John, man, these few contractors and few business owners that I've helped over the last several years, it's extremely rewarding, not so much financially, but big time mental. And then in chapter 4, David, Patrick David, teaches some stuff that I've been teaching for over 30 years, which I really loved and I want to try to touch on. But hey, what'd you get over chapters 4, 5, and 6, Dave? What's your takeaway? And then we'll go to you, Glenn.
I'll tell you the crazy thing is just trying to write out all the asks, right?
Yeah.
Everything that he's asking, and really what it comes down to for me. Well, I'll cover your 20-year plan first.
Yeah.
So when we start talking about a 20-year plan, the reason we want to look at a 20-year plan, number one, is if we don't change something today, where are you going to be in 20 years? Well, you think something's going to change because you didn't change? No, we're going to be. Not only will we not be in a better place, we'll be worse off than we are now because you're going to be 20 years older. And from the looks of most of us, we're going to be freaking old.
Oh, yeah.
So we either got to do something now or we're fucked long term, right?
Yeah.
So when we start looking at that, it sometimes when I look at the 20-year plan, it's more of a motivation to make good food choices today because in 20 years, do I want to be limping around on one leg because I had to cut one off because I didn't eat right or I didn't exercise or I was obese, whatever it was, or I'm going to be healthy enough that I can live to 120.
Yeah.
Right. So that comes into play for me. And then the other aspect of it though is in 20 years, do I want to be fully retired or do I want to be fully on purpose? Right?
Yeah.
Like Patrick Bet-David, he sold his business for I don't know how many billions he sold it for, but he sold it for a lot of money. But he's still going 100 miles an hour. He's still working Saturdays. He's still working those 80 to 100-hour weeks. Why?
Yeah.
Because his purpose is significantly higher than that of somebody who just wants to hit a certain dollar amount and retire. And that I think is what we're going for here is what is it that's driving us? For him, what's driving him is the fact that anybody that's trying to downplay freedom or trying to steal freedom or freedom of speech in any way, shape, or form is his enemy. That's a pretty formidable enemy, especially in today's day and age. So he is flat motivated to put out some content that contradicts and counteracts all of their nonsense as much as possible. Well, what is it for each one of us that will drive us to get out of bed at 4:30 in the morning, hit the gym so we're strong, and show up early and leave super late to get stuff done, right? So
and it's funny that you brought that part up because when he was talking about that part of selling the company, having that much money, and still showing up to work, I was like, man, it's like it is his passion, but even in the small business world, especially like as contractors, is it's the stress that wears us out. And it's usually the stress over money and the stress, some of the job sites going bad, but you're worried and stressed about the job site going bad because you need everything to go right because you didn't bid it right. Or if the customer wants to argue and not pay you, you cannot afford for them not to give you that $1,000 or that 1,500. So that stress wears us out as contractors. So like, even myself, I learned this many years ago, but even working with these guys recently over the last several years is like, man, once you've got that $5,000 in the savings, 10 grand in the savings, 50 grand in the savings, 150 grand backup money, now it's like now you're getting up going to work because you like it and because you want to, not because you need the money so bad to where if you don't finish this job on time or if something goes wrong, it's like, now, I'm telling you, it's like when you get your finances under control like that, you are getting up early and going to work with a total different purpose. Even in these small businesses, it's crazy. The stress will drive you and eat you and drive you nuts.
Absolutely. When I started looking at my enemy and trying to determine, well, who is my enemy?
Yeah.
Obviously, I look inside him, my enemy is me.
Yeah.
But he comes back and he did talk about, well, the enemy can be complacency.
Yeah.
The enemy can be mediocrity. The enemy can be that you haven't become the man that you expected to be by now.
Yeah.
Right? So even that can be the enemy. It doesn't necessarily have to be your ex-spouse or your ex-spouse's husband or whatever the hell that kind of stuff is, right? It doesn't have to be that kind of nonsense. It could be anything that really causes us to get up and go after it.
Yeah, that's like my friend and mentor Jim Rohn used to say over and over again, was stay away from being comfortable. Comfort will kill you. Get out of your comfort. It's like, and I see it so often. It's like we just get in the rut of like, I'm okay. I'm just getting by, and it's like it's like you've got to set those bigger goals, and it's not that you're unhappy at where you're at, and it's just I don't know if someone said Lincoln said it. I don't know if he said it, but it was like never be satisfied, never be happy with where you're at. Always know that you can do more and be more and give more. Just always strive to what's the next mountain peak that you're going to climb in business and in life. And that's what this book is kind of motivating me more because I am sitting down just for myself for the guys through the Facebook group and stuff to write it all out. Hey Glenn, what'd you get over this last week going through the book?
A few things. One is some fires keep your house warm. Too much fire burns it down. So I thought that was kind of an interesting deal. Is you got to be careful how much wood you put on yourself or in your business or that type of thing because you can burn it down. I thought that was an interesting scenario. And then on the second, or that was in chapter 4. Chapter 5 was enemies like the match, but will keeps the fire burning. And I think the will sometimes is okay. You got to keep finding. Once the project's done, it could be, or the client's done, or whatever that year is done, you got to find a new will, or as they say, a new enemy, but then have the will to keep the fire going, which is always kind of interesting because what you got to have a thing that's an eternal purpose in a way instead of a year-long purpose or a 5-year or whatever kind of thing. I'm still hashing that through and thinking that through of how he goes about that. And then the last one, he was chapter 6. He brought up many things, but one thing he brought up the game of chess.
Yeah.
And you're always thinking 5 or 6 moves ahead, whether it's your competition or the homeowner, what's he going to be asking, or the business owner or client, whatever is okay. Well, he's going to want that done, maybe potentially. It depends on what kind of project it is. And I think in one of the chapters, he goes, what makes your client happy? Figure that out, because if you can make your client happy, he's always going to, turn to you for the work. I don't have to worry about him. He'll get the job done. And that's what one of our things or one of our goals is as a business is we always want to keep our clients happy because then the repeat business happens.
Yeah. Hey, and I guess to all of you guys, but for sure, like David is like always knowing where your competition is at on the board, whether it's a chess game or what, but business. And where I kind of grew up in this Los Angeles, Orange County area, in construction, I kind of already knew where all my competition was because I knew everybody. So I kind of knew what everybody was charging, what was going on, and I was always a little bit higher than most people. But when I sold my first business and got into the world of personal development and giving presentations for leadership and motivation and stuff, I didn't know any of that. But for whatever reason, I figured it out to where there was a couple of places online, and there was a lot of speaking bureaus that you could go to who had speakers and presenters. So we put together a ghost event. We said we were holding an event for this company that one of my friends works for. We did this whole thing. We needed this many speakers for motivation, for leadership, for some sales and some other stuff. And we put this, what we, in the speaking world, it's called a call for papers. But we were just, putting the word out that we needed all these different speakers because I wanted to see how they responded. I wanted to see how did they call first? Did they send the email? Did they do it? Because we had these big vanilla envelopes, and in the beginning it was almost a VHS tape, but then we got down to the DVDs that we would send, showing us and showing me, giving a live presentation and all this folder and the flyers, and so. But I didn't know that world, so I was relying on this fake event, and man, we learned so much because so many speakers were answering it and sending out and calling and their sales pitch, and did that speaker call and try to do the sales pitch himself, and the ones that seemed to do better were the ones who had someone call for them and say, yeah, I'm calling on behalf of David Adams, man, he's got this and this, and can I submit him and do this? And so we learned a lot. But then I thought, when I went back into construction and when I started working with other businesses, I said, man, that's what you got to do. Is like, now I see all these guys on Facebook, like, hey, how much you guys charging? It's like, doesn't matter. How much are the guys charging in your area? How much can you charge? What's the homeowner willing to pay? And if you don't know, call up 3 or 4 contractors, have them come over. Like, how do they answer the phone? Who answers it? Does the guy doing the work, the contractor, does he answer it? What questions, how does he answer it? Does he do this? And you should know, like, questions to ask him. And you can have your mother-in-law do it, your mother, your aunt, your cousin. You can have someone else have them come over and give the estimates and see how they show up. What are they driving? How do they look when they're dressed? What kind of forms do they give out for the presentation or the proposal? You need to know where you're at on the playing field. So it was real interesting that he did that. I was like, oh shit, man, I've been telling guys to do that forever. It just kind of backs it up for me now when I say it. I'm like, look, man, if it's good enough for PBD, it's good enough for you. You got to get through that. Have you ever heard of that before, David? Have you done it?
You know what? I've only actually when I was shopping for a coach myself.
Yeah.
Right. So to call a bunch of different coaches and to get their feedback and find out what they sell, what their price is, what they offer. Only that. I have not called around to do research outside of when I was in retail management. I would visit 3 to 5 stores every week.
Yeah.
3 to 5 of my competitors every week. What do they look like? What do their prices look like? How am I competitive? How am I not? What are they doing that is fantastic? How can I adopt what they're doing in my own store? So I did some of that, but I have not as of late, but I'm learning right now that that's something I'm going to have to do in order to remain relevant. And then the second thing before I move on from there is, Glenn, when you were talking, it reminded me of the other piece that keeps our will going, which is the reward. Mm-hmm. So many times we don't reward ourselves with anything, at least nothing meaningful. And then the mind is, well, why the hell would I do it again?
Yeah.
Right. So what is it? And I'm curious what you gentlemen reward yourselves with, because that's something I really have not done.
Yeah.
Well, one thing we do is when we bid a job and we get it, I take the family out to dinner that night. If we're low bidder or that type of thing there, or we got awarded a job, it got to the point where family, so you got a job today. And I go, yeah. And so it kind of trained them to that thing. And now it's kind of like, okay, well, my kids are older and they're in college, and my wife, okay, yeah, we'll go out to dinner. It's not as big a deal as when the kids were littler and type of thing, but it's just something different. As one thing we did it, and it was kind of how you get the family involved type of thing.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because I don't even do the reward thing like that. But these everybody in my family's so damn spoiled. They couldn't look for no effing reward. It's crazy. Uh, man, hey, what's the 3 words that you never want said about you? Did anybody write those down?
Fuck you,
Say that
Dave.
again.
I think it's chapter 5, but he talks about the 3 words that you would never want. And he does it both ways. 3 words that you would want, that you don't want people to ever use to describe you, and then the 3 words that you hope that they do use to describe you. Because I had wrote them down, and for me it was like, coward, untrustworthy, and unwilling to change. And one is like, I don't want to ever be afraid to take chances or step outside of my comfort zone. I mean, I've failed thousands of times, and maybe only really succeeded 10. In all honesty, but I've never been afraid to try. So I don't ever want to be thought of as a coward, that type of thing. Untrustworthy is I just, if I say I'm going to be there or say I'm going to do something, I want to make sure that people know, and for me, the unwilling to change as because especially if I'm debating something or like if I act like I know something, I usually don't debate unless if I'm 90-95% sure that I know what I'm talking about. I'm usually more interested in learning, but I'm also at the same time, if I'm 99% of sure of something, if you can tell me and explain to me and show me like how I'm wrong, for me, I look forward to that, because all that means is I'm learning something new. And so for me, those 3 words almost opposite for, I want someone to say, brave, honorable, open-minded type of deal. I don't know if you guys have looked at that part or not.
I didn't. I missed that part.
Yeah.
So, Brian, it's interesting because I attempted to find that book. I went to multiple locations to look for it. It's sold out everywhere. So
Yeah.
I finally ordered it on Amazon, and it'll show up in like another week and a half. Probably by the time we're done, I'll have the book. So, it is what it is. But when we start looking at 3 words, that's a tactic we use in high performance coaching, is to choose those 3 words that you're living into every day, right? So the 3 words that I chose last year were confident, competent, and charismatic. I show up that way for myself every day. So when that alarm on my phone goes off, those 3 words pop up, and I've got to really look at it and go, okay, how confident am I today? How competent am I today? And am I being charismatic in my communication? So I think when we start looking at 3 words I never want said about me, maybe always stayed down or always played small. I think that would piss me off.
Yeah.
But, kept getting up and always shows out. Right? We don't, what Anthony Trucks always says, Trucks says, we don't just show up, we always show out. Right? We always show up as the best version of ourselves. So
yeah,
I think coming up with the positive and the negative is a fantastic way to inspire us to show up in the way that we expect and the way we want to show up every day.
Hey, how about this one where he says, and this kind of made, it's like after he had said it, and I wrote it down several times in different sentences, and just looking at it in different goals of my life, even back in history, but where if it stood out to you, where he says, replace the word just with, and replace that with, at the end of the statement with because. Did that sound, meaning like my thing is I want to help 100 contractors or 100 business owners, double their profit this year. So instead of saying, I just want to help 100 contractors grow, replace just with, I'm on a mission. So replace that word just with, I'm on a mission. But at the end of that sentence, add the word because. So so instead of saying, I just want to help 100 contractors, double their profits this year, it would be, I'm on a mission to help 100 contractors or small business owners double their profits this year. But don't leave it with that. Add the word because, and then I went into, so I'm writing this down. I'm thinking, man, because, and for me, the whole thing is like, I got into this, 4 or 5 years ago, because of the bullies, and they're not really bullies. There's just a lot of guys on the internet trying to help contractors, with their marketing or with their business coaching, and none of them ever had a business. None of them know anything about marketing, and contractors are just so desperate for work. They're just giving money away to anybody, and they're getting taken advantage of. And I don't know who's at blame. And so I said, well, you can't just complain about it if you don't have a solution for it. So that's when I wrote the book and then started helping these guys. But it would be, help, the business owners double their profits, because if I don't help them, I leave them vulnerable to be taken advantage of by someone, in the coaching business or the marketing world. So that whole replace the word just with I'm on a mission, and at the end of that statement, add the words, because, and then finish that sentence, really got me thinking about a lot of different areas of my life. So I don't know if that stood out to you guys, but it was big for me.
You know what? I love that. So I just rewrote mine while we were talking, while I was listening to you talk about yours. And it's I'm on a mission to inspire, and I added a specific number. I'm on a mission to inspire 1,000 leaders this year to embrace people's stewardship, because their teams need to take personal responsibility for their own growth and development.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, they're never going to get more. They're never going to add more value to the marketplace. They will never make more money. They will continue to blame somebody else. They'll never take personal responsibility for anything. So that's, I think that's
be big. Because like for me, we're getting ready to sit down next week. About 6 of us from my daughter's, company, because there's a couple of people that I want to almost be partners. PBD talks about, instead of just being an entrepreneur, you can be an entrepreneur, but like be a part of the company, even if it's a small percentage, 5% of the company, 10% of the company. There's a couple of people that I want to bring in to my daughter's company because they'll help motivate everybody and grow it. But that whole 1, 3, 5 year, 10-year, 20-year plan, when you put the because at the end of all of that, it's I'm really trying to help my daughter grow something that I know that when I'm gone, she'll never have to worry about money again, that company would grow forever. Her kids could, continue to run it if they wanted to. I've been trying to look at my finances over these last 10 years, buying some properties so that when I'm gone, everything is like so in all reality, it's more of it's 100-year, 150-year plan, David. And I should have thought about it like that, because I want this, I was thinking of like her and her kids, but I want it to be like a generational wealth type of deal, to where, they can continue to grow and even open up different locations if they wanted to. I'm going to bring her into this whole marketing, dominate your trade, how internet works and the Google works and all that stuff. Even my wife was yelling at me yesterday going, if something happened to you right now, yeah, she can run the business, but she don't know that part of Google that you do that gets the phone to ring. That's the most important. And you know it. You keep telling me. And I was like, yeah, she can learn it. She can figure it out. She said, well, she don't even have your damn login codes. I'm like, no, I know you're right. You're right. So that's one thing that we're working on. So yeah, I don't know, like just, setting these meetings with you guys and then going through the book a couple of times. And I'm going through the audio book. I went through it the first time, and I'm going through it 2 and 3 more times. But I've really sped it up to like 1.7 and 2.0. So it's everything. And I thought that really makes me pay more attention to the book than when he's reading it normally. So if you haven't done it, try increasing it to 1.5 or even 1.7 or 2 speed, and he'll be talking twice as fast and going through the book, super fast. It made me pay attention more.
Yeah, Brian, I listened to it twice all the way through but the first time it was on regular speed, because I really like the way he talks. I like the way he pauses, all the way he communicates. And then I listened to chapters 1 through 3 times in preparation for the last one, on top of the 2 full times. And then I listened to 4 through 6 3 times in preparation for this. But when I was going through it the last time, I'm trying to take notes and figure shit out. But there's way too much. There's way too much in 3 chapters to even cover in a full hour.
Yeah.
Hell, it took me that long just to try to figure out who my enemies are, and I still don't know who the damn enemy is.
Yeah. And the last thing before we get out of here for me that really stood out is the what if.
Yes.
And that's been a part of my life forever anyway, just because of martial arts training. I mean, I walk into a room looking for the exit. I'm always thinking, hey, if a fire breaks out or if someone walks in with a gun or a knife, I mean, but I've done this for 40 years and I've trained it, for my wife and just anyone that knows, like, is like, no, there's like, I'm walking in, I'm looking at everyone that's in the room, who could be a trouble, who could be a problem, who has a Band-Aid on their finger, who's carrying, a knee brace or any. I'm looking at everything because it's always been that way for self-defense. So through martial arts, I started doing it through my business. Is the whole what if, like, and sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad, only because like certain projects I'll be going, man, what if this or what if that? But I'm trying to play it out in my head just to be prepared for it. And another thing is like, and I'm saying this right now for a lot of guys who'll be watching this later on, but and most of them have heard this, is I tell guys all the time about not only about your competition, but as a construction guy, you need to know the questions that the homeowners are going to ask you and the questions that they're going to ask other contractors. And it's very easy to do because you go to Google. They're going to Google first and they're typing in all these questions. You type in one question, Google will give you an unlimited amount of questions that homeowners are asking. And you need to know what those questions are, because if you're you're giving a proposal, you're talking to a homeowner and they ask you a question, they've probably already asked it to Google. And if you give a different answer than Google, they're going to think you don't know anything. They're going to think, no, you're wrong, because I asked Google and I got this answer. And if you don't believe me, ask doctors, because people that go there now, I have all these medical questions. And if the doctor gives a different answer than Google, the doctor's wrong. So so I tell guys all the time and say, hey, if a homeowner asks you a question, you need to know the answer that Google is given. So you need to be on Google all the time, asking these questions, reading these answers. Most of them will drive you crazy because they're wrong. But you have to answer it in the way of like, hey, David, that's a great question. Because if you go to Google and ask that question, you're going to read this. Boom, boom, boom. I'll give you 2 or 3 scenarios. And I'll say, those are kind of right. But trust me, man, over the last 30, 40 years, here's what really happens in the real world, not the internet world. It's this, boom, 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 boom. And now the homeowner's like, oh shit, this guy knows more than Google. So you've got to stay ahead of your competition. You've got to know what's out there. Even on Facebook, there's so many crazy answers to different questions. So that I had that in my notes. I wanted to make sure I shared it. But the what if. You're not always thinking about the bad, but you've got to stay in front of it. What if this happened? What if that happened? Did anybody pay attention to that?
Brian, I'm going to quote you on my vision board here. You're going up on my battle board with no more than Google.
You've got to, man. I'm telling you, it's like, it's just, and I've had it happen. It's like, wait, well, Google said this. I'm like, who the hell's Google?
So, what I'll tell you about your next 5 moves, right? And that's really what he's talking about is, if this happens, what's your contingency plan?
Yeah.
Right. So when we start looking at personal growth, or we start looking at weight loss, we start looking at even controlling our emotions. When you're alone on the wall and you don't want to do shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's your contingency? What are your next 5 moves to get your ass out of bed? Yeah. What are your next 5 moves to get you out of that emotional state and into the state of action? Yeah. So if you've got that card filled out in your own words, you wrote it out, this is your action plan. You can even hand it to your wife. And when you end up in a certain state, tell her, hey, just hand me this card anytime I'm in this state, right? You've given her permission to do it, and it's in your handwriting, damn it. So you're going to have to take it. You're going to have to read it and do the thing to get out of that state. Or you pin it to the wall where you're going to see it. You pull it off the wall and you start taking those actions, and pretty soon you're out of that state and moving on. But the same concept is if we plan for it in advance, then we can avoid it, right? We plan for it in advance, we can get out of that state. We can turn a bad hour instead of turning it into a bad day, or a bad day into a bad week. And then pretty soon you had a bad year and you're like, what the hell? I just filed bankruptcy, right? Yeah. So we don't want to end up in that direction. So thinking 5
there's a movie with Drew Barrymore and Andrew what is this? Adam Sandler, when they're in Hawaii, the 51st dates.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? So 51st dates. So if you haven't seen it, she has short-term memory. So every day she wakes up and doesn't remember anything. So, but he falls in love with her, does all this stuff. So at the end of it, she wakes up on a sailboat, and she turns over and she wakes up and says, before you come upstairs, play this videotape, VHS tape. So she puts it in, and it shows like she had this car accident. You have short-term memory. You keep remembering this. And it shows over the years, like now they're married, they have a kid and all this stuff. And so now she's called up and she can come upstairs and join the family. So I used to tell guys at some of these events that I would do, I say, look, man, right now you guys are fired up. I said, you're motivated, you're ready to do something, you're pumped up. And I'm telling you, Taft, it's a little city in Northern California, but it's also, it's the law of diminishing intent. Meaning like you have every intention of doing all these great things that you're thinking about, but the law of diminishing intent means when you wake up tomorrow, you'll be a little bit less motivated. When you wake up 2 days later, 3 days later, you'll be even less motivated. When you wake up next, because the one thing I am sure of, the only thing I can guarantee you is that life is going to kick you in the nuts, punch you in the stomach, chop you in the throat. It will take you and beat you up. And you have to, like, so I would tell them, say, look, man, you're fired up right now. Go out into the lobby, do whatever you got to do. Take your cell phone, and make a video for yourself and explain and yell at yourself why you're fired up, why you're going to do this. You're setting these goals. You want this business plan. You want all of this stuff to work. And it's almost like that movie, the 50 First Dates, is when life starts beating you up, and it is going to, push record and push play and watch, how you feel right now and why you feel it right now and what you're going to do, all of that stuff. I don't know if anyone ever did it, but I've done it several times. And I have to, there's so many tapes and books that I go back to over and over and over again, because, man, these last 3, 4, 5 years, life has, kicked me into growing more than once.
That's brilliant.
Well, it's like Zig Ziglar said, you take a shower every day kind of thing. So you got to read something every day kind of deal.
Yeah, it's like that motivation thing. I forgot exactly what he says, but he's like, man, it's like, you need motivation just like you do that underarm deodorant. Put it on every day.
Yeah.
Well, guys, anything before we get out of here?
No, Brian, I'll be better. I'll be more prepared next week.
All right, man. So Wednesday, I was fired up. I was ready to do it tomorrow. Yesterday. I was, and my wife was like, "Hey, that's supposed to be on Wednesday." I was like, "What?" She goes, "Yeah, you're supposed to do that Wednesday, not Tuesday." I was like, "Oh my goodness." So so next Wednesday, chapters. No, I was ready, man. I'm telling you, I'm reading through this book. I'm writing this stuff down. I'm ready to call you guys right now. So chapters 7, 8, and 9, and I think chapter 7 is the mission and the systems, and I'm all about the systems because, man, some of these days you have to be on autopilot. You're in such a fog because of life and certain things going on. Is you need those systems that you can be on, like robotic automation. Just let it happen. So I'm interested. I'm excited about the whole systems thing. I appreciate you guys being here. Anybody want to say anything before we get out of here?
Yeah, I thought one last thing I thought was very unique. He brought up the mafia as a source of inspiration. I thought of a lot of things about mafia, but I never thought about them as a source of inspiration.
It is, man, because and he has. I don't know if you haven't watched some of them. He has interviewed almost everyone in the mafia, like big time hitman, like just these big mafioso. They're crazy good interviews, and he does even throughout the interview. He like how you know your competition, who's trying to make a move on you, all of this different stuff. I don't know if it pertains to some of these small businesses, but at the same time, man, you take all these big businesses and do a lot of the stuff that they're doing in the little businesses, and it ends up, getting you ahead of your competition and making life a lot easier. But yeah.
Well, isn't that what we're trying to do, is take small businesses and turn them into significantly larger businesses?
Yeah. For me, I want them to run themselves. I want money to come in automatically. That's my goal.
Heck yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Enjoy it.
Have a good one, gentlemen.
All right.
Yep.